Welcome to Hip Hop Now Podcast. If you're from the future, you know what to do. Get your ass out of here. Don't disrespect the legend. Hip hop is here to stay. Let's get right into the business.
What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, a podcast specifically designed to keep you caught up on all things hip hop, music, and culture that happened throughout the week. Big shout out to the supporters on the audio side of things who have been subscribers to the podcast, new subscribers to the audio podcast. I appreciate you coming through, being a part of this movement. And also a big shout out to those on YouTube, new subscribers on YouTube, whether you found this podcast through the shorts that I post or the weekly content or the collaborative content like That Time in Hip Hop, hosted by myself and Tony from Into the Dome podcast, or even recently, two of the interviews I did, one with Marcus J. Moore, writer of that De La Soul book you probably heard about, and I Am God, elite MC out of Chicago. Check out all the content on the channel. Don't worry, it's not so dated that you can't go back and enjoy. If you missed the our reaction to the I'm forgetting all of it, to the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl performance, or when GNX dropped and me and the homie Ock reviewed it, the whole Drake and Kendrick battle, like there's a lot of content on this channel that you can just go back to because I haven't deleted stuff. I don't take things down. Maybe I will, but that would be stuff that's way older. But again, there's a ton of material on the channel. If you love all the things you're seeing and hearing, subscribe. If you like this particular episode or another episode, doesn't matter if it's dated, hit that like button. But the most important thing you could do to help me grow this channel, which is now at 5,400 subscribers, where at this point in time last year, we weren't even at 1,000. Okay, how about that? Sharing it with people, retweeting it, reposting. If you like it and you kind of want to share it with your network of people, that helps. Obviously, there's a Cash App, a QR code right there on the screen. If you're watching on television or you're watching on iPad, you can scan that code. All proceeds, donations to this podcast go into the production of this podcast. So there's things I've purchased like microphones and monitors and a light, which I now have. But you can't tell. The brightest part of what you see on the screen is not the light. It's that sunlight. It's just coming through the window. Okay. Can't help it. I need to put some sheets up or something, calm that down a little bit out there. But again, everything goes into the production of this podcast. And there are other things beyond props and things like that, that are a cost, right? Like, just running a stream on StreamYard with certain features, keeping my audio editing software up to date with a monthly subscription. So there are things I take donations and I place them on those things to help keep the production of the podcast going and to make it better over time. So there you have it. The QR code is there, but also my Cash App name is in the description of this episode. Now, big shout out to allhiphop.com, Ambrosia for Heads, Hip Hop DX, and a couple of places where I get my stories from. Let's get right to business, though. So a couple of weeks back, or maybe last year, I talked about Xzibit coming back to the rap game with a brand new album called Kingmaker. And now we have an idea of the features on this album due to the track listing being made available. This is on hiphopdx.com. It says Xzibit taps Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Redman, and more for Kingmaker track listing. Now they're getting this basically from Xzibit's IG account, where he listed the track listing. And let me see if I could just go there. I kind of like the album cover. It's really basic. It's just him with like a blue sky. I guess that's a blue sky behind him, wearing a suit and glasses. But here's the track listing. We're gonna try to zoom in. It's a couple of tracks here. Play this at my funeral, everywhere I go. Been a long time, part two. The Moment, featuring Busta Rhymes and Jason Martin. Earth is Over, Leave Me Alone, featuring Dr. Dre and Ty Dolla $ign. Belly of the Beast, featuring Jason Martin. History, Genesis. Perfect Alibi with Stallone, featuring Stallone. American Idol, featuring Simba. Crash, featuring Royce the 5'9". What's this one? For the Love, featuring Ice Cube and Lorne Chia. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Shut Your Mouth, featuring Compton AV and Butch Cassidy. Wow, wait, is that the Butch Cassidy from like back in the days? Whatever. Higher, featuring Redman and Be Real. Success, Notified, featuring King T and Cole 187. What You Like, featuring, who is this? I can't even see it now. My bad, y'all. And Domo Genesis is on here, End of the Day. And then he has a song called Kingmaker. And the album is out May 16th, 2025. Pretty solid outing. I think the number of tracks, this would have been like, I guess this is considered almost like a double album. Let me just say this about me as a fan of Xzibit versus maybe you. So I wasn't up on every album Xzibit dropped. When he dropped his first single for his debut, which the title escapes me right now, I remember buying the single because I thought that song was crazy. I liked Xzibit's voice. I thought he could rap. The beat was crazy. And I think I read a review back then on his debut album, and it might have been the source. I don't know how many mics it got. So somebody, if you know, leave that in the comment section. But it steered me away from buying that album at the time because it just felt like it was a letdown, you know, as it was described. I hadn't heard it, but we're talking about a different time where I think I was in college at the time, going on my sophomore year. I didn't have a income where I could just go and get any album I was interested in. I really was like, I'd rather save my money for an album that I know I'm at least guaranteed to like, and I won't be disappointed if I don't like it because, it just gets added to the collection. And I kind of feel like with Xzibit, for me personally, that took my eyes off of him as an MC. Like I just wasn't paying attention. I knew he was dropping albums, and every time I saw an album, I was like, "Oh, word, he's still doing it." But I just never had the opportunity to buy any of them. And like, I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Maybe during the lockdown is when I started to go back to hear some of those albums I hadn't heard from Xzibit. And I know there's one he did where I think Dr. Dre did either all the production or the majority of it. And I was like, man, I missed out on this one because this album's crazy. So it still didn't really keep my attention enough to just be on the lookout for new Xzibit. But because he hadn't released in so long and this became like a story, it made sense now to be like, you know what? I want to be there in the beginning for an Xzibit album in a way I couldn't on his debut, mainly because now, I have Spotify and Apple Music. So when an album drops, there's no, oh, I need to read a review to see if it's good enough so I could go and buy it. No, it's let me go check it out. So expected a review of that album when it drops. And this track listing is pretty encouraging. I think it might be pretty dope. I'm guessing. Best of the year, I don't know. We got to hear it first. But it seems like we might be in for a good album from Xzibit, returning to the rap game. So we'll see. Speaking of returning to the rap game, if you don't know, Will Smith dropped a brand new album recently, and he has been making the rounds as far as the press tour for this album to promote this album, which includes getting a street sign named after him in Philly, and he was there, and it was dope to see, being from out there. Not me being from out there, but him being from out there. He's this huge star, and coming back to the neighborhood like that. It's pretty dope. It's dope because, and I'm gonna get on the soapbox for a little bit. I hope you don't mind. But it's dope because I remember being a little kid in the ghetto, and you watch celebrities and musicians on TV all the time, and you never think you will get to see one up close, let alone maybe even interact with one. And when they're from where you're from and they come back, and and they're absorbing the love from the neighborhood, and they're giving out their own love to their neighborhood, that's special for the kids. But that doesn't mean he is above being critiqued as an MC. Now, I did not review Will Smith's album for this podcast. I didn't even listen because what I heard tells me all I need to know from it, as far as me personally, as a hip hop fan, as a fan of some of Will Smith's music. And I like the Fresh Prince from back in the days, but that guy was gone after a while when you got the Will Smith stuff, right? Which I kind of like, right? Like I like stuff like Men in Black and his songs. I think he had Just the Two of Us and Miami, and I like all of those things, right? They're fun. I never looked at them like, yo, the bars is crazy or this or that. I just thought it was fun. But it's been a long time since we've had a Will Smith album, and it feels like the objective was to get back to his roots in a lot of way. In a way that wasn't familiar for Fresh Prince, but felt more familiar for like Beanie Siegel or somebody. The way he was rapping, the way he was cussing. And recently he did a freestyle with Lemonade, a lyrical Lemonade freestyle, referring to himself as the GOAT, rapping over Griselda's what was it, Dr. Birds or whatever, that beat. And to me, not quite sounding in pocket, not quite sounding believable. Because, okay, we know you slapped Will Smith, man, but you ain't about to pull out the stick and, become a YN and light up the block, right? So it's more to like this aggressive, lyrically aggressive Will Smith, but you don't really sound in pocket. Because I'm not saying Will Smith can't rap about some of these things, even though we know he don't do them. Some of these guys who rap about it don't do it either. They just dress the part. You know, they inflate what they did in the drug game or the street game, especially the drug game, as far as making money. Because if you were making that much money, why you rapping? You know what I'm saying? Now, it doesn't mean you can't change your life. I'm just saying, right? We don't believe you. You need more people. You rap now. You rap about it. But to hear Will Smith doing it was something that I just didn't like. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Here's a couple of the bars. Hip hop's Messi, Neymar, Ronaldo, goal scored on these boys. I won damn near every award on these boys. Sold out movie theaters and even tours on these boys. Feeling like a mop. Wiped the floor with these boys. Yeah, I be overcoming ish that y'all be having trouble with. Let them run their mouths. I mean, really, that's what come with this. They built a wall, but I'm jumping it and loving it. They want me to be done with it, but I'm still having fun with it. So when you read the bars, They okay, they cool. But when you hear the execution over the beat, it doesn't sound comfortable, I should say. And I think Will Smith is probably what should have happened. And maybe that's what they think happened, but I don't hear it. They should have worked on a new flow for Will Smith, like Nas. Now I prefer Nas's old flow, but who knows what that came with, right? Like maybe he had the breath control for it when he was younger versus now. But Nas has a new flow and it works for him. I think Will Smith needed another one also, just so he could sound comfortable over the track. There were points where it just came off as robotic. Like he wasn't completely off beat, but he was straying a little bit. So it sounded like he was trying to place the words in a way that would sound slick in his flow, but it just sound robotic in some spots. And again, being this aggressive in a way that we're not used to hearing Will Smith be aggressive lyrically, it just felt like, nah, not you. You're not in the GOAT conversation. You could say it, but you're not in that conversation. Not in You've never really been in that conversation, right? You had dope tracks throughout the years, like Summertime, Brand New Funk, and all of that. You get your respect as an MC for sure, even doing this. But I just think if this was the goal to like take it back to Philly and you want to add a little new Philly, you want to talk how the kids talking where everybody's the GOAT. I just needed to sound natural, man. I needed to sound more natural. That was my only thing. So again, I'm not saying it's whack. Some people go out the window and say it's whack, but again, this man is 56 years old. He's a mega star when it comes to film. Uh, he has a all-time classic and a television show, and he's multi-platinum and gets that early hip hop respect for what he was doing with songs like Brand New Funk. Every word he said about his status is true. He could talk that talk. I just wish somebody just gave him a couple of tools to sound way more comfortable when he talked that talk. Because on his freestyle, I think he said it too. Like, I got me nervous, something like that. But I thought he was about to go crazy when he said that. Like, he just didn't sound comfortable. That's all. That's all I'm saying, y'all. I ain't hating. I ain't doing none of that. I just was like, okay, whatever. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Did you see that freestyle? What you think? Yes, it's not Black Thought at Hot 97, but for Will Smith, especially over that Griselda beat, what were your thoughts? And lastly, so if you don't know, I've been doing this for a little bit now on slow news weeks, especially as it relates to albums that we've been anticipating or great albums that are coming out. Everything's been slow. So I like to take the time at the end of this episode, when available, to just pay homage and list some things, right? So today, as you can see in the title, who are some of the elite duos in hip hop history? Now, I'm just going to keep it to 5. And I know on the internet now, some people have amnesia, some people, maybe a little bit slow with it, which is fine. We can wait for you. But trying to determine what's a duo versus what isn't and all that. I'm just going to let you know right now how I see a duo and how I think it should be seen. But I can't say that everybody's going to do that. If you have 2 active MCs in a group, not 3 MCs, not 4, not 10 like Wu-Tang, 2 MCs. There are literally 2 MCs in this group, hands down. They happen to have a DJ who's a part of the group. They happen to have a producer as part of a group. That's not a trio to me. I'm talking about 2 MCs where they complement each other, whether it's just voices or flows and rhymes, going back and forth, if that's what the duo does. I'm ranking it on that. As a team, those MCs who are some of the elite at being a team of MCs. I'm not going to name more than 5. So me not saying the one you're thinking about, like I could give you one right now, like not mentioning somebody like Das Effects doesn't mean they're not an elite duo. I think they are. It's just that I just tried to keep my list to 5. So put your list in the comment section because I love to see who people pick, especially if it's artists I'm not thinking about. So here we go. Some of them you may recognize. Run DMC. I think it goes without saying. Run DMC is in a lot of ways a blueprint for two MCs in a group who feel like two titans in a group. You really can't hear them alone, right? Or as soloists because you like what they do as a group together. You like that output, the back and forth, the dope records, the verses, the memorable bars, what they were able to do on a lot of their records together. And Run DMC has so many examples of being dope on the mic where it's not, oh, Run's better and DMC is just okay. So I really only wait for Run's rhymes. No, I'm talking about both artists contribute damn near equally. You may have your favorite, which is fine out of the two, but when they're together, it's not time to take a break. Oh, DMC rap it. Time to take a break. No, I'm talking about, yeah, I just want to hear the whole song because Run DMC is dope. So, and it's called Run DMC for a reason. Next, you know him, you love him. You probably saw this coming. Pause. Damn. I hate y'all. Uh, Outcast. Outcast. Most people on the internet really only think about Andre 3000 when that's impossible considering their catalog and their contributions uh, to hits, to underground hits, to the different styles of music they've made. They complement each other beautifully. And even though Big Boy had a dope run as a soloist because they haven't done a Outkast album probably since Idlewild, that soundtrack joint. His stuff has been good, but again, not as good as it is when you hear Andre 3000 and Big Boy together on a track. Same thing with hearing a Three Stacks verse. It may be crazy, but it's nothing like when those two are together and they both give up those types of performances for a track. Next up, Mob Deep. Mob Deep complements each other because it's not Prodigy the rapper and Havoc the producer. No, it was their voices, their cadence. Sometimes when they sing the hooks together, you know what I'm saying? Like it's the music they made together. Now, has Prodigy done some dope stuff with his solo work and with Alchemist on the boards? Yes, but guess what? So has Havoc. And if you don't know, Exhibit A is an album called Silent Partner. This Havoc solo. Go listen to that. It's not whack at all. But again, it's not Mob Deep. It's nothing like hearing Hav and P together on a track. Uh, and again, if you don't know their history, just go. Don't just listen to Shook Ones. Don't just listen to Quiet Storm Remix. Go listen to the albums. Listen to what they did together. Survival of the Fittest. Like they complement each other in a way. To me, that's elite status. Smith and Wesson. Now I'm adding Smith and Wesson here because when you talk about complimenting one another, whether it's one dude's voice sounds good with another dude's voice and what they rap about sounds good together, and with their beat selection and all that, but also with Smith and Wesson, they're really dope with the back and forth, right? The routines, right? But more from a gutter, boot camp clicks standpoint, right? They sound dope together when they do that, especially with the back and forth. Um, and a part of me feels like not only based off of their debut, The Shining, being a perfect example of a lot of the things I'm talking about when it comes to them as a group, but also The simple fact that I just did a Smith and Wesson tier list, and if you don't know, maybe you didn't hear it, maybe you didn't watch the video, uh, but going back through their catalog, I realized that they have more good work than bad work. Some will lead you to believe that they don't really have anything good beyond The Shining. It's not true. Now, maybe it's not, again, and I said this in the video, but maybe their later works doesn't give you the same vibe as The Shining, which I was guilty of also. Like, if it didn't sound like that, it wasn't Smith and Wesson to me. It just was two other rappers. It's kind of like with Das Effects. Once they stopped doing the Eggity on their second album, to me, they were just other rappers. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where you kind of look at it and you gotta like check that bias at the door of, again, they're not gonna make The Shining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 because we wouldn't even want that. We gotta look at it like, what do they have now? And when I went back and listened to their music, including their latest album, Infinity, there's a lot of that Smith and Wesson routine I talked about that's still there, and they just complement each other because their bond is real. So there you have it. That's what, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 and 5. And again, there's duos that I'm leaving out because I'm only doing 5. But I just want to mention these: the Clips, two brothers, two different but almost similar voices, right? We some of us thought they was twins when we first saw the video. We had to squint like, are they twins? And how their rhymes complemented each other. Again, you can go back and look at their work from I think they had 3 albums total, and they have a 1 on the way. There's something about them lyrically complementing each other when they rap, but they still sustain their individuality, right? But their individual personalities. So it never sounds like you're hearing the same thing over and you got a preference, right? Like when it was the Clips, No Malice, or Malice, I should say at the time, was my favorite out the group. But Pusha T was just as dope. And as much as we like Pusha T solo, and we can keep going with new albums from him in that regard, a Clips album is what we want. Because there's something there with that connection with his brother lyrically as MCs and hip hop fans that you're just not going to get from solo projects from those two individually. So there you have it. That's my 5 elite duos in hip hop history. What are some of yours? Are they the same as mine? Are you including people who I purposely left out? Some of my favorites. And also, when you list them, tell me why you like them. I read the comments. I like them. I share them. I respond. Subscribe to the podcast. If you like this episode, hit that like button also. But more importantly, share with people enjoy this kind of content. Until next time, y'all, I am not a critic. I'm a fan. Peace.